hit the magic hour, 7 o'clock. You know, that's when all the network news comes in and they are able to see all of us, what we're doing here. Okay. Good. Okay, very good. This is the Woodland Park Planning Commission, the regular meeting for October 25th. We'll start with order and roll call.
Mr. Chairman, we will begin with Mr. John Deva.
Here.
Mr. Lee Brown.
Here.
Miss Ellen Carrick.
Here.
Vicki Good. Here. Ken Hartsfield.
Here.
Jerry Penland.
Here.
Peter Scanlon.
Here.
Charles Schrader.
Here.
And for the record, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jeff Watson is absent today.
These are so much fun. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes over August 22nd, September 22nd. These were the microphones that the council bought.
Put them on mute.
Move that we approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor, signify by saying aye or exception. You're going to raise a hand. You want a second? She second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. What we're going to do tonight, we've got 2 items on the agenda. We'll have the first public hearing on Spruce Haven. We'll take a little short break after that's over with, and then we'll come back and we'll start again for the second one on Paradise in Colorado, just so you know what we're going to do. Okay. The first one is zoning number 18-003, Spruce Haven rezone. Request by Ray Thomas, property owner, to rezone 1.675 acres described as the west half, northwest quarter of section 24, township 12 south, range 69 west, 920 Spruce Haven Drive, from community commercial to multifamily residential for a 5-building, 36-unit apartment complex.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everybody hear me? So this is the Spruce Haven rezone. It is zoning number 18003. It is to rezone a 1.7 acre parcel that is currently zoned community commercial to multifamily residential urban, or what I'll refer to as MFU. Tonight is October 25th, 2018. It is the Planning Commission public hearing on this rezoning case. It is scheduled for first reading before City Council for the November 15th meeting, and it is scheduled for public hearing before City Council for their December 6th meeting. This is a thumbnail showing the location of the site relative to Highway 24, as you can see, swinging around the city, and then Highway 67 going north. So the site is west of Highway 67, north of Highway 24 in this area, pretty much the central area of the city of Woodland Park. This is an aerial photo showing some of the adjacent land uses. It shows the site, which is 1.7 acres in size. It's outlined in red roughly here. You can see Spruce Haven Drive to the south of it, Highway 67 here to the east, Tractor Supply to the south, single-family residences here to the west and Coraline Street, and more single-family residences to the west. To the north, you're seeing the Woodland Hills subdivision and residential single-family development. And to the east, you're seeing Fred's Towing on this block of land here, encompassing a few parcels of land. This is a photo I wanted to show to depict some of the traffic network in this area. So the site, Spruce Haven site for the apartments, is outlined in yellow here. Here is Highway 67. And this entire quadrant of the city of Woodland Park is accessed off of 67 for the most part. And you can see accesses on Spruce Haven, for instance, Bowman up here, Midland, Lorraine. All of these streets connect up with Highway 67 and provide access to all of the residences and the businesses in this area of the city. This is a close-up of the site showing you some of the characteristics of the site. It shows you the dimensions of the lot, so you can see 361 feet along Spruce Haven Drive is the dimension of that particular piece of the lot. And then it goes north. It's 97 feet along this side of Fred's Towing in the impoundment lot, 150 feet here, 146, 210 feet here along Woodland Hills, and then roughly 277 feet abutting these two residences here, and then Coraline is right there. This arrow indicates the slope on the site. It is draining from a high point roughly in this area in the southwest corner of the site at an elevation of 8,627 feet above sea level, and it slopes down roughly 25 feet to this corner of the lot at 8,602 feet above sea level. And so, of course, the drainage pattern is in this direction, going that way. This also shows that there's an existing 8-inch sewer main. It's highlighted in the black dashed line that goes underneath Spruce Haven Drive, and this is what the applicant would connect to. There's also an existing water main partially along South Spruce Haven Drive, and it connects water for the Tractor Supply, and the applicant would be responsible for extending this line all the way out to Coraline and then connecting for the service lines into this site from that main. This also shows that the right-of-way for Spruce Haven is a dedicated public right-of-way, approximately 59.2 feet wide, which is a standard and typical right-of-way width in the city. The surface of the asphalt, you can see here roughly, is about 30 feet, and you can see sidewalks on this side of Tractor Supply and curb cuts for their driveways, which was all developed when Tractor Supply went in about 2014. As well, the new asphalt surface on Spruce Haven for this entire length from Highway 67 all the way to Coraline was repaved at that time when Tractor Supply came in. So that gives you a little bit of idea of some of the services around there. Also, you're seeing a really good picture of the Fred's Towing and the rooftops of the surrounding residential area. This is a zoning map showing you the surrounding zoning in the area. The site that we are interested in tonight is this one here, highlighted by a little red star. So this zoning currently is CC, which is community commercial, and you can see that to the east is community commercial, and along 67 is all community commercial. To the south is Tractor Supply, and that is service commercial, zone service commercial, these two sites. The pale yellow is suburban residential, and the bright yellow is urban residential. So you're seeing the bright yellow here on the east side of Highway 67 and a few lots south of Tractor Supply. But for the most part, everything surrounding it is residential, and you can see that this proposal is to change the land use, to change the zoning from CC, community commercial, to residential, and it would be multifamily urban residential, MFU. These are some photos of the site. This is standing around the middle of Spruce Haven looking east, down Spruce Haven towards Highway 67. You're seeing the fencing that's along Fred's Towing, and you're seeing the portion of the site, the east half of the site on this photo. This is looking from the same spot, looking right into the site, straight north, and you're seeing the Woodland Hills subdivision. You're seeing some of the existing vegetation on the site and the gentle slope as it goes towards the north. You're also seeing overhead power lines here, and I don't know if you can see it, but along the back there's also existing overhead power lines. And then this is a photo standing in the same spot on Spruce Haven, looking west, and you're seeing the couple of residences that are immediately west of this site, and Coraline. This is the stop sign for Coraline right here. So that gives you a little bit of an indication. What I did with the staff report is provide a brief analysis of both the Community Commercial Zone District and the MFU Zone District. And that's what this table reflects. So for instance, the current zoning, which is community commercial, allows for general retail office and community service buildings. That's the typical use that the CC Zone District allows for. So some of the permitted outright uses in the CC Zone District are things like a sports club, a vet clinic, a pet shop, a rec center, auto part sales, auto rental, an office, a bank, a coffee shop, health clinic, a restaurant, retail sales, similar to what you're seeing at Tractor Supply. So these are outright permitted uses in CC. An applicant could come in tomorrow, submit an application for a site plan for a bank, for instance, or for, let's say, another Tractor Supply. Not that one would be necessary, but that would be an administrative process to review a permitted use. Conditional uses allowed on this site, and again, remember, a conditional use requires Planning Commission approval and then subsequent City Council approval. Conditional uses in the CC Zone District that could occur on this site would include things like a greenhouse, a campground, an RV park, furniture repair, a gas station, auto sales, contractors' offices, a hotel, fast food outlets, restaurants, warehouse, and/or storage facilities. Maximum height in the CC Zone District is 35 feet. Setbacks are 25 feet for the front and the rear and 8 feet for the side, except where a proposal abuts a residential zone, which in this case it is a residential zone to the west. So the setback to the west in the CC Zone District would be 15 feet. Frontage is 50 feet. It meets that frontage with no problem. Parking, typical in a retail zone district and a commercial zone district, you're providing one parking space for every 200 square feet of floor area. Fencing, in the commercial zone, you can go up to a 6-foot-high solid fence. Buffer, especially abutting residential, and it may be barbed. Signage is allowed, commercial signs through a sign permit. Sidewalks, they would require construction of sidewalks or fees in lieu of sidewalk construction for this commercial development, if it were to happen as a commercial development. Landscaping requirements in the CC Zone District, 25% of the lot must be landscaped. Half of that 25% has to be abutting a residential zone district. And then open space requirements in the commercial zone is 20%. So going through the same list for the MFU Zone District, you can see that the purpose of the MFU Zone District is essentially residential, attached dwelling units with 9 to 20 dwelling units per acre to be fully served by city water and sewer that can accommodate all projected impacts, including traffic, pedestrian access, proximity to parks, schools, and commercial centers and places of employment. The permitted uses in the MFU Zone District, for instance, are essentially residential. You could have single-family units in there. You could have 2 families, 3 to 4 attached units, 5+ attached units. So what's proposed is 6 dwelling units in 2 buildings and 8 dwelling units in 3 buildings, which is permitted under the MFU Zone District and would also be permitted under CC, quite frankly. The conditional uses allowed in the MFU Zone District, for instance, would be single-family requiring a subdivision. This piece of land, this tract of land, does require a subdivision. It is currently a meets and bounds property that is unplatted. It also allow for conditional use. It would allow for a taxi station or a bus station in this site, a school, a church, or a nursing home, for example. Maximum height is lower in the MFU Zone District. It's 30 feet instead of 35 feet. It's got the same front and rear setbacks of 25 feet, and it has an 8-foot side setback, which is the same except that the commercial zone has a 15-foot next to a residential zone. And then we're looking at frontage, 40 feet, it meets that no problem. Parking spaces, typically in an MFU zone district, it depends on the number of dwelling or bedroom units. This applicant has a concept plan for single bedroom units, so they'd be looking at providing 1.5 spaces for every unit that they're proposing. Fencing and shrubbery, there is no requirement for fencing and shrubbery, but the applicant may choose to build fencing and add shrubbery in the back or along the sides or to do what he proposes. But there is no requirement. Signs, again, an entrance sign is allowed in a residential zone district for the entire complex. Sidewalks, same as construction is required in the commercial zone, it's also required in the multifamily zone, and we would accept fees in lieu if the applicant wanted to go in that direction. Landscaping, there is no requirement for landscaping, however, we do have standards that exist for landscaping within a parking lot, and landscaping abutting a street, for instance. Same sort of standards that would be applicable to the commercial zone in terms of the parking lot, landscaping, and the street trees. In the multifamily zone, 40% of the lot must remain as open space, and 20% is what is the requirement in the commercial zone. So that gives you a general analysis and comparison of the two zone districts. And again, the application is to change from CC to MFU. So when we do an application to rezone, when it comes before staff, we have a series of questions that we have as a standard analysis. And I'm just going to go through those questions. Essentially, they deal with compliance with the comprehensive plan and availability of services. So the first question we ask is the proposed zone change to MFU consistent with the comprehensive plan map? This is an excerpt of the comprehensive plan map for the area that we are looking at. The site that we are looking at is right here, and it has this pink color on it, which is designated as mixed use in the comprehensive plan. The yellow is designated as single-family residential, and the red is commercial. So the site that we're looking at has been designated as mixed use. And essentially, mixed use in the comprehensive plan is defined as commercial or residential, or a mix of commercial and residential within the same building. So staff believes that the proposal for residential, high-density residential, is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. Mixed use does allow for residential, high-density development. So it does comply with the comprehensive plan map. The second question we ask, is the proposed multifamily urban zone district consistent with the comprehensive plan's plan goals and objectives? And I pulled out 3 goals and objectives in the staff report, which are reflected here, and I'll just briefly go through them. Staff does believe that the proposal for high-density residential development within this site does comply with the comprehensive plan's goals and objectives. So for instance, it complies with the land use and growth goal number 1, to provide opportunities for growth and development while preserving community and environmental quality. This site has been vacant for a long time. Everything has grown around it, and we now have an applicant who's willing to develop and has shown interest in developing a residential development on this site. Growth would be welcome in this area. It is an infill lot, fully surrounded by services. So, for instance, land use and growth objective 1.1, ensure that new development fits within the intent of the comprehensive plan map. Well, question number 1 already answered that. It does fit within the mixed use designation. Uses plan map and uses the land and the community resources facilities efficiently and in an environmentally sensitive manner. All new development, expansion, and redevelopment should contribute to the Woodland Park's Mountain Western identity and help the city achieve its goals of diversifying housing supply and respecting individual property rights, preserving residential and commercial real estate property values, upholding neighborhood integrity and character, strengthening downtown and commercial vitality, protecting the mountain environment, providing opportunities for lifelong learning, and keeping Woodland Park safe. Staff does believe that this applicant, with this proposal and his concept plans and sketches, does comply with this objective. So housing goal number 1, for instance, provide a balanced and diverse housing supply that is well-designed, well-maintained, and available and accessible to all citizens throughout the community. This is infill development, high density, and again, staff believes that this is diversified housing within the city, especially if the applicant continues with his proposal for single-bedroom units, which would be rental housing that is more affordable than bigger units, for instance. So, for instance, housing actions, developers should demonstrate how their project meets both the city's design standards and community development principles. It's an important consideration in that each new project or subdivision should add to the mix of housing models, styles, and lot sizes to ensure that housing types are integrated, contribute to the Woodland Park character, and enable people to remain in the community as their needs change, and protect existing neighborhood property values, integrity, and character. Staff believes the development of this parcel would improve property values, it would preserve the integrity of the neighborhood, it maintains a residential character, and it would be designed to comply with the architectural and design standards that we currently have in our zoning code. Finally, economic development objective number 1.6, to increase the desirability of Woodland Park as a place to be and work by providing diverse housing options, expanded educational opportunities, and additional community amenities. As staff has already mentioned, this would be a way to diversify housing and to provide more housing options and opportunities within the city of Woodland Park. Question number 3. Have changes occurred in the surrounding properties that warrant a change in a zoning classification? Staff would say yes. What are the changes? Well, this particular lot has remained vacant despite all of the development that's gone on around it. So, for instance, to the north, Woodland Hills, a residential subdivision, was platted in 1977, and most of those homes were built around that time. To the east is Fred's Towing and Storage Yard. That has existed for a long time. It is a non-conforming use, but you'll see some of the residences that incorporate this complex, that are within this complex, were there in the 1930s or 40s. So those houses have existed for quite some time. To the south, you're seeing Spruce Haven Drive and Tractor Supply, which was built and approved in 2014. To the west, you're seeing single-family residences that have been built, and Coraline Street that has existed for some time. With Tractor Supply, as I mentioned before, in 2014, they improved Spruce Haven Drive, and they added the sidewalk on the south side of Spruce Haven Drive, and curb cuts and ramps and curb and gutter. Highway 67 in Spruce Haven is a full movement intersection that continues to be improved to this day. Affordable housing study was done just recently and completed just recently. It showed a need for 741 rental units, workforce units, senior and other housing units in the city. And then, of course, the development of the Charis Bible College with the need for student and faculty housing in proximity to the city and in the county around this area. So question number 4, is the multifamily urban zone district appropriate at this location? Staff would argue yes. It is a fully serviced infill tract of vacant land that is ripe for development. There is adequate and available services and infrastructure surrounding this site to service this site. It is close to city parks, schools, churches, emergency services, transportation corridors, and the downtown area. It is a very developable parcel of land due to its terrain, its access, and its proximity to existing services. And it provides an orderly development progression. It is ripe for development. And it reduces sprawl by offering multifamily, high-density housing. So this is just a copy of what was submitted with the staff report and what was submitted with the application. The site itself is outlined in red. It is 1.7 acres. At 1.7 acres in size, with a maximum of 20 dwelling units per acre, the maximum number of units permitted on this site, if it were to be approved as multifamily urban, would be 34 dwelling units. The applicant has shown a feasibility, conceptual schematic plan of 36 units, which is 2 units too many. So he would have to, when he comes in with his site plan, have to redesign that to eliminate 2 units. But what you're seeing is 5 buildings, 8 units in this building out front, 8 units on this one, 6 units on this one, 8 on this one, and 6 on this one. The interior is common open space with a trellis design and a couple of picnic tables. Parking all around. Again, with 34 dwelling units, he would be looking at approximately 51 parking spaces for 1-bedroom units. He's showing feasibility for a drainage pond, and there would be requirement for on-site drainage and detention. And he's showing a 25-foot setback, which is the requirement, 25 foot in the back, which is the requirement, and he's showing 8 feet on the sides. So some portions of some of these buildings would be right at 8 feet, as it is on this side as well, 8 feet from Fred's Towing, and 8 feet on this side. He is proposing, or has shown, a conceptual plan with 2 accesses off of Spruce Haven. So that would allow for 2 sites, 2 accesses to this particular site. And here we are seeing the 59.2 feet width of Spruce Haven Drive. So question number 5, we ask, can the maximum density be served with planned water resources? And staff would reply, yes, it can, with the current resources that we have right now. And there was a memo from Kip Wiley, the Utilities Director, and the Public Works Director that was included in the staff packet that elaborated on this. Yes. Maximum, again, 34 residential units are possible on 1.7 acres in the MFU zone. In the 2016 vacant lot and land use study, we have a forecast of 13,600 people at build-out. And we can provide short-term, additional units can be supported and provided with water. In the long term, it depends. It's a first-come, first-served basis, and who comes in for their water gets their water, and if at some point in the future, if they haven't developed, we don't have the water, there would be other things that we would look at, which is why there are many variables related to water. So with a plat, which would be required with this, and with any plat that we always have a plat note that simply says there is no guarantee that water taps will be available for any specific property at any future date. So it's obvious and it's disclosed when any plat comes in, or when anybody pulls a plat, for instance. If any plat has gone through the City of Woodland Park, this has been a plat note that we've put on plats for a long time. So question number 6, can the maximum density be served by wastewater treatment resource? And again, staff would argue, yes, it can. The treatment plant was just expanded, and it has been completed. It's designed to provide for a service population of 14,100 people. There is a capacity for wastewater treatment to serve this proposed development if it is approved. So tonight we are here to simply hear the rezoning request. It's a rezoning from community commercial to multifamily unit. The applicant has been kind enough to submit conceptual and schematic plans showing the layout of a potential development on the site. What it shows is that the site is feasible for development within the multifamily unit category zone district. But it is not the end-all and be-all, and it's not written in stone, so that the design can change. Similarly, he submitted a rendering showing what the building might look like, what one of the buildings might look like. Again, these types of issues, like the architectural standards, the way it looks, how it's sited on a lot, all of that would go through a site plan review process. And staff would have a chance to apply the full zoning code to something like that, including the review and of the design of things like the grading, erosion control, drainage, utilities, sidewalks, curb and gutter, etc. Also the review of the building siting and the architectural standards and landscaping standards, lighting, parking, open space standards would all be applied with the submittal of a site plan. So staff does recommend approval of the zone change from community commercial, from CC to multifamily residential urban, MFU, for this 1.7 acre tract in the west half of the northwest quarter of Section 24, Township 12 South, Range 69 West, 6 p.m., with an address of 920 Spruce Haven Drive. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman. The applicant's representative is here from Yao Architect. Mr. Brad, let me see if I can, Nichols. Mr. Brad Nichols is here, and he does have a presentation if you wanted to let him present, or I can answer any questions now.
By all means.
Thank you. Can you hear me through this? Okay. All right. Thank you, Planning Commission, for letting me speak on this project. I'm here to represent Ray Thomas. He's interested in purchasing this property, kind of seeing the feasibility of what can happen with this property. He's a retired general contractor. He was a resident of Manitou Springs for 65 years. And one of the projects he built, which I'll show you later, was the Mueller State Park Visitor Center, which we plan on kind of having a similar design to. And I'll show you some of those as we go along. Actually, I can show you.
Could you just speak into the microphone a little bit more, please? You're fading a little bit. Thank you.
So we believe that the zoning change to the multifamily residential is a smoother transition between the zones now. We believe that you would have less traffic counts per day than you would with the commercial centers. And also, we're looking at how some of the comments that we received from letters from neighbors, how we can kind of mitigate some of those, if we can answer some of those now. So first off, there was some comments about views and how the site would lay out and how some of the residents may see an apartment complex next to their house. So we're thinking the southwest portion of the site is going to be dropped down approximately about 6 feet. So we're going to have drainage in the eastern portion of the site. So when you look at this section, you're basically looking from south to north, and if you look at it, basically we're cutting out some of the building height by bringing the site down. Next, we kind of hit on the traffic, but like I said, we're thinking about less trips because we only have 54 spaces now, and 54 spaces. We're thinking basically that is a lot less trips than if it were a commercial center that had multiple retail outlets or something to that effect, which is what it's zoned now. Moving on to the architectural design, we believe that the style we're looking at is in tune with the mountain style that Woodland Park basically, that's kind of their overall theme for the city. And we're willing to have the type of finishes that would reflect that with metal roofing, larger overhangs, stone veneer, wooden columns, wooden decking, things like that. And color selection would be important as well. We keep kind of a natural color palette. And talking about setbacks and lighting, we're willing to basically keep the natural areas of the site natural. And if we could move the fence back from the property line, we would keep the existing natural vegetation along the two property lines where the residential is located, and keep that in place. And lighting, we wouldn't have any lighting on the rear of the buildings. All the lighting would come off the front of the buildings and light the center of the property, so we won't have any light spillage onto the residential areas. And basically, where we are in the process, this right now we're more at a conceptual place. We had a comment that we had not contacted the neighbors, and at this point we really haven't come up with any designs that are ready to build or anything. So we're just looking at the zone change, and then when we come forth with site development plans, we'd be more willing to meet with the neighbors, try to come up with solutions that fit everybody's needs. So that is our proposed buildings for this site, and this is the building that he had built previously, and we have kind of a similar materials palette as well as similar colors proposed for our development. And that's all I have for now. Any questions? Or
At this point, we are at the stage of asking questions to staff.
I have a question about your statement about the setbacks, especially on
well, as far as the setback,
I see, especially on the west side, that the setback would be 8 feet from the other property owners, and the community commercial. The community commercial is more 15 feet, and you said that you'd be willing to consider larger setbacks. So what size setbacks
Yeah, I
to
think-
keep the vegetation and trees?
I
and
think
things?
if we could keep what's there, especially on the north side, we're willing to not even disturb that north side. There's 25 feet there,
I
and
see
move
that,
fencing
yeah.
back. And on the west side, I think we're definitely willing to look at the 15 feet and try to keep as much vegetation as we
And
could.
vegetation, and maybe
there's-
more vegetation.
We had talked about there actually is an aspen grove, kind of not necessarily in the center, but it's center western, and we could move those trees and place them along the western edge, and the owner's willing to do that as well.
Any questions?
I know we're a little premature even getting into the design, we're looking at the buildings because we're talking about the zoning change tonight, and we're not getting into particulars of the design. But since you are making certain public announcements of your intent on the project, I would like to clarify, is there plans to fence the property?
Yes, we would have a fence. And like I said, I think he's willing to move the fence on the north edge that's next to the residential back, so it's closer to the apartments, and leave that area to the north basically undisturbed. And then we'd have a fence along the western edge as well for screening, and then on the eastern side it would screen the tow yard.
And this would be a solid fence.
Yeah, I believe it would be like an opaque type fence.
Should we address questions to staff as well? Just on the number of units allowed on the property, from the statement from the applicant, it's 1.675 acres, and we do the math, it comes out at 33.5. And since you can't build a half a unit, I would suggest that it's only 33 units. Thank you.
And on this site plan, I did change the northwestern building to 6 units, so this site plan shows the 34 units.
This proposal is for a rezoning, and in your proposal, it suggests that you're building one-bedroom apartments. If we just rezone it, there's nothing that says it has to be one-bedroom apartments. Is that correct? So I would hope that we can specify somewhere in this process that, as presented, we are rezoning, if it's voted for, we would be rezoning for single-bedroom apartments instead of carte blanche multifamily units.
I think the applicant, for the record, is on the record stating just that, so that's fine.
I'll try this. Oh, good. My query is more conceptual on the general appropriateness of zoning changes. And what is to, and maybe this is more of a staff question, what, if we permit this in this parcel, what is to prevent every owner of a commercial, a property zone commercial, to come back to us and say they want it rezoned? And we end up with, and I have nothing against apartment buildings, but we end up with apartment buildings all up and down areas today where there are small businesses, commercial zoning, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm actually struggling with that a little bit, the sort of, you open the door to what seems like a relatively small parcel, but how do you end up not justifying every potential change that could come in, and maybe the land would be more valuable with apartment buildings all over it, any piece of commercial property, than it would be with the commercial business. Take Fred's Towing. I don't know Fred. I don't even know if there is a Fred. But if I see the truck towing things all over town, but I mean, whoever, let's say Fred, owns that property, and he has a bunch of old cars today, well, how would we not approve that if it eventually came in for a change such as this?
So, Commissioner Scanlon, my response...
Long-winded question.
Pardon me? Yes.
Long-winded question, and it's kind of a theoretical.
So my response would be, it's a rezoning change, and the zoning has a complete matrix, a list of different uses that can go in it.
Right.
And that applies to any zone, any piece of property that is zoned. When you're applying for a rezoning, there are certain criteria that we assess a rezoning application with. So with this one, for instance, we had the 6 questions that we went through, and essentially it was compliance with the comprehensive plan. So any application that comes in would go through that same analysis, and not all of them would have the, for instance, the compliance with the comprehensive plan map. Some of them wouldn't have that mixed-use designation, for instance. This one is a mixed use, which allows both commercial and residential, so it would be fine for the vision that was part of that comprehensive plan to develop it as both commercial, residential, or a mixed use of commercial and residential. So that the comprehensive plan is a key factor in any rezoning application. Also, another factor, which we didn't go into here, is there has to be adjacency. So you can't spot zone something that's, let's say it's surrounded by residential into a commercial zone, for instance. So that would prohibit certain rezoning applications from occurring. But to use your example of Fred's Towing, it is adjacent to residential, and it could be redeveloped, rezoned, and redeveloped into apartments, assuming that it is also classified as mixed use in the comprehensive plan, and that it is fully serviced, and I think it is. So that's the criteria we would go through.
Out the microphone. I have a similar question also. To me, this is a two-step process, and I'm a little confused about the comprehensive plan, how that zoning plays into that. It seems like we should be looking at the zoning, and the comprehensive plan is just a document that we look at as supporting or not supporting it. But the zoning is the overriding document, I think.
The zoning is the regulation by which development can occur. Comprehensive plan is the vision for the city and is the guiding document for decisions for rezonings, for instance.
Okay, but the zoning is the
The current
overriding
zoning
document.
Is
Because
the...
what you said in your presentation was that based on comprehensive plan, you could put apartments in there, no problem. But with the zoning, you can't.
Right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So the comprehensive plan is the vision. If the rezoning occurs, then the multifamily could be developed.
So the first question to me, to get over the zoning and into a rezoning, the first question is, do we want to give up prime commercial space for an apartment complex?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Just a couple of questions are sort of procedural kind of things. First off, is indicated representations made by
is this on? Would be binding.
Yes.
All right. Is that personal to this applicant, or does that run with the land, so to speak?
It's personal to this application and this applicant.
Okay. In that
And
regard,
this
too,
record.
I understand the question back for the applicant. I understand that you are working for a man who is proposing to purchase. Is the land under contract today?
He's trying to purchase it,
Okay.
but
So
he's
do we
trying to
have-
see what he can get
That
first.
being the case, has the city received a writing from the owner indicating that he wants the property rezoned?
Yes, the application.
Yeah, the application.
Okay, so the owner has in fact said he is requesting this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The owner has signed the application.
All right. I'm not sure the rezoning is really a form by which we're supposed to place conditions upon the change, but everyone has been interested in soliciting lots of representations from the applicant. I took some notes. I sort of know what those are, but I mean, is this, I mean,
We are not...
do we know which elements of what's been stated we think are representations that we're voting on? Or,
The vote today is to rezone from CC to MFU.
all right.
And if you
Should
wish...
we rely upon any representations made here?
Yes. The applicant, for the record, has made representations, and if this is approved, he will be held to them in subsequent application reviews.
So if the particular, all right, well, let me go back. Is this the owner who sent it in, or is this the person who's thinking he might buy it? That's bound?
The owner supports the applicant who has submitted this application.
So it would be binding upon this owner, this applicant, but not a future owner? Is that where it stands?
Correct.
Okay.
One of the things that we get mixed up with here today is we're simply doing a rezoning. That's all we're doing. We're not saying we like this picture. We're not saying we agree with this. This is conceptual. Our comprehensive plan is aspirational. It's not fixed in stone. It's an aspirational document. So we're trying to figure out what Lee had talked about, what misrepresentations or what you say today. That's not what this meeting is about. This is a rezoning to go from community commercial to multi. All these things here will be worked out by staff. This thing may not even look like this when it's done. Well, this isn't necessarily what the final product is going to look like, because that will all change. And at that point in time, when you submit a final plat, you submit the plat, we will be notified as a planning commission what those changes are, and we can come up to staff and look at that, as well as the people in the audience can, to take a look at what the final project is. Nothing of that is being presented tonight, except the plan that shows 36 apartments or 34 apartments on that property. Am I correct in assuming that?
One small correction, and that is not a final plat, it's a site plan review. The final plat you will see, because you're creating a new lot. It's a meets and bounds parcel right now, but a final plat is more of a technical kind of as-built for the lot.
When we come back,
But you will not see the site plan review. However, it will be posted, and the neighbors can come into the office. There's a 15-day period with which you can make comments, and we share those comments with the applicant and try to address any concerns that planning commissioners as individuals or neighbors have regarding the site plan review.
And Mr. Chairman, this applicant has represented that he would be willing to host a community meeting.
so at the final plat, it will be back at our commission, and at that time, we'll also just the final.
Property lines and setbacks, there'll be a review of the building in this format.
Or whatever format that turns out to be.
Planning commission will not have a formal review of that.
Correct.
Although, Mr. Chairman, if I could just add to that, a plat can show a building envelope, and he could delineate a building envelope that is 15 feet away from that western boundary. He has made a representation for the record that states that he is willing to move it 15 feet.
Now that we've thoroughly confused everybody, and probably us along with it, the next step is open for public comment. Do we have a sign-up sheet? No, you had to be on the sign-up sheet. Well, first. I gotta look at it.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Francis Sennell.
Name, rank, and serial number. My name is Frances Sennell, and I am one of the unlucky neighbors that gets to be by the new apartment complex on Highway 67 and Valley View Drive. The construction took about 1.5 years on that project, and when I first saw some of you, not all of you, in 2016, when we had meeting postings, so we knew what we were up against, and the neighbors started coming in. We got there to complain about what was going to happen. And I tell you what, nobody in that neighborhood is happy with that new apartment building, and here's why. We were told when we came in and made objections about the fact that there was going to be an apartment building there, or actually several. Now I found out that somewhere along the way, 6 or 18 more units have been slipped in for $825,000 apiece that are right next to each other, next to this 25-unit apartment building. What we were told at that meeting is that, hey, it's already been zoned. That ship has sailed. Go away. We lost our ability, because that piece of land had been zoned a couple of decades beforehand. We lost our ability to object to anything, and we got stuck with what we got. We have to figure out what's best for Woodland Park. I have a list of 40 questions. I'm sorry, I'm thorough about this kind of thing, and I saw what happened last time. I also want to make a statement, but I just don't think there's time for that. I was thinking, since there's a meeting on December 8th to approve the plans, at least that's what I understand. After the zoning, there will be some plans. But by that time, the ship will have sailed. And anybody, especially the neighbors, who object to having a very tightly packed 34, 36, 32-unit apartment complex that's going to be 30 feet high. Actually, with the one by 67 in Valley View, it turned out the plans brought it up to about 35, 40 feet, but who cares? You know, it was going to block the view of Pikes Peak for about 25 residents in single-family homes as it was, so it really didn't matter if it was 50 feet. After the zoning is approved, nothing in terms of the particulars matters. And one thing that I think is important to note is we don't have a contract in place requiring anything of the owner or the prospective owner. They could sell this property 23 different times and everything changes. But once the zoning is in, there are going to be apartments there. And there's a lot of things that concern me with this. One is the 8-foot easement or clearance or setback, whichever it's called. My bathroom is 8 feet long. My living room is 14 feet wide. Even if it went to 14 feet, that's actually from here to that wall is probably about 45 feet. How much of a clearance is that for the people who live to the north of this proposed development? All right, then I'm going to focus on this. We should not approve the zoning because once we do, Pandora's box is open, we are down the rabbit hole and we're never going to be able to climb back out again, and we are stuck with what we get and we have nothing to say about it. The apartment complex that we have on 67 and Valley View, we can't even see the stars anymore. We've got traffic problems, the drainage. The property is a disaster in terms of what it looks like, in terms of the concrete drainage that they had to build. They've landscaped it, but I tell you what, it is more crowded than any apartment complex I have ever seen. So what are we going to do with Woodland Park? I mean, most of us moved here because we want to retire here. That's why I moved here. And we maybe couldn't afford to do it beforehand, or maybe we had to live closer to Denver or to Colorado Springs. But here's why we moved here. This is the city above the clouds. It's a quaint place. It's a beautiful place to live. And now we're starting with suburban sprawl, and we don't need it. We want to maintain the integrity of what we signed up for. Most of us have run away from the suburbs and the cities to get here where we don't have eyesight pollution and noise pollution and traffic pollution. How far west do we have to run before it stops?
Thank you. The subject of the additional unit, with those apartments that are there now, does that still come here?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
She's talking about
Oh, the 18 additional units? It's because we haven't had an application next to Valley View.
They're already selling it online for $825,000.
So 60, that's not the affordable housing thing.
Where the nation is at.
I can show you it on the
No
website.
application. I just wanted to give an opportunity. Deborah Kerbal.
If it's not zoned, then why are they selling it now? Would you like me to pull it up on my cell phone and show you the...
Could we have order, please?
We can do that tonight. Okay, Deborah Kerbal is number 2.
Deborah Curbo had asked me to speak to her.
Okay.
If I may take her 5 minutes, if nobody minds.
You've already had 10.
Pardon?
You've already had 10, and we're going to go to Brad Nichols who's next. He's number 3 on. Okay, Annie Carter? Annie Carter, 216. Same name, rank, and service.
Annie Carter, 216 Coraline. I just object to the density of the people that in the proposed units and what it means to the existing folks. As we see, this setback is ridiculously close. Imagine being in your own house and having someone staring down into your apartment. And the traffic and everything. I will not take the time. I just am opposed to the impact of the density of that many people, that many cars, and what it means to the lifestyle and the importance of being here. Like he said, why do we need to capitulate to the capitalism of Colorado Springs and other suburban areas?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, may I ask a question? Are you on the corner of Spruce Haven and Coraline, or are you further up?
I'm Coraline and Spruce Haven Tees, and then I'm just to the south of that.
I was just looking at the
Yeah,
map.
right.
I was trying to get it.
I can see it on the map. It's covered by the pine
I
trees.
looked at where the house is.
Thank you.
Yeah, Spruce Ridge corner. Yeah.
John Gibbons.
Thank you. My name's John Gibbons. I live at 227 Coraline. I'm one of the abutting private residence properties. The one that has the 8-foot setback. One of the ones that has the 8-foot setback. I'd like to read from you one quote from the applicant's letter to you people. It says, "This zone change shall not have any detrimental effects on surrounding properties." I think the people here would disagree with that portion of their application. If you don't mind, I'd like to read so that I don't forget what I came to say. When my wife and I purchased our home at 227 Coraline, there were cattle in this property. The zoning was agricultural at that time. I know because I checked before I purchased my home. Sometime between then and now, the city decided that it would be far better to zone it community commercial to allow it to be developed with a lower impact, small-scale commercial building and business. We were not thrilled with that, but understood it couldn't be agricultural forever. According to the staff report, apparently also sometime in that period, it was also zoned single-family residential for a period of time. After a while, there was a sign put up there that it was going to be a church, and we were kind of happy with that because churches are good neighbors. Unfortunately, that church decided that this property was too small for their church, and they ended up building over on Rampart Range Road, one of the larger churches over there. And so we were kind of sad. The lot was too small for the church, and the lot is too small for this apartment complex, in my opinion. My objections are the size. 36 units is too large for a 1.67 acre lot. It takes up the entire property, intruding into and completely obstructing the views of the surrounding single-family residences. It builds massive two-story buildings as close as 8 feet from private residential property lines. Compare that to other major apartment complexes. Down the street from us is the Meadows. It's at Coraline and Evergreen Heights. It has 4 two-story buildings, 32 apartments, a much larger lot size. I would say twice the size of this lot. Setbacks there between residential and the apartment buildings is 80 feet. Far different than the 8 feet that's being proposed to go in my backyard. Valley View Place was just brought up. That building got placed right next door to a series of condominiums, and it was pointed out right you can't see out of there anymore. I mean, I went down and looked at that, and not good. Hunting Meadows, Highway 24, the big green complex that was approved recently and was built in the last 3 or 4 years. The residential setbacks there are again 80 feet, and I went and paced them off with with wooden fencing at the property lines of all of the people and a trail behind it. The site plan and building configuration is as obtrusive as it could be to the bordering private residences. Rather than locate these buildings so near the road, rather than locating the buildings near the road with buffers between the apartment buildings and homes, the applicant places them as close as legally possible to our homes. All buildings surround a massive parking lot. I guess that's what they consider the 40% open space. Number 3 would be neighborhood compatibility. Coraline and South Avenue from Bowman Street to Spruce Ridge Lane has 22 private residences. At least 9 of those residents are occupied by retirees. All 5 of those homes have had the same owners or occupants for many years. My wife and I have been in our house for 40 years. Our neighbor over here, longer than that. The other street that's been impacted negatively by this proposal is Burnett Street. I'm not as familiar with those families. I've spoken with a few of them. The people I have spoken with are not in support of the zoning change. It seems like that neighborhood's about like our neighborhood on Coraline. Retirees, stable neighborhood, very little movement of properties. Number 4 will be traffic. Spruce Haven Drive is a 2-lane road, and it's the main access from Highway 67 to all of the streets that are behind us. This has already become fairly busy with the addition of the Tractor Supply Company at the same intersection that is being asked to absorb the many daily trips of the 50-plus cars that could reside in this complex. As you know, apartments, people come and go. In regular homes, single-family homes, people come and go all day long. This is a 24-hour-a-day operation. The commercial building would be far more acceptable to us because generally speaking, they're only open during the day. Yep, I'm just a couple more things. Highway 67 has no traffic signal, and this is already becoming a bottleneck at certain times of the day. I urge the Planning Commission to deny the application for a zoning change. Please respect the rights of the citizens that will be negatively impacted by this decision. And finally, as she said, if you make this as just a general zoning change, we are at the mercy of some future developer or this developer or someone, because it's already zoned out as to what can be legally permitted. When I spoke to the planning department, they went through the community commercial zoning, which is what there is now, and she said we would have no choice, we would have no say about what was put in there because everything that's already, if you're in a zone, it's permitted. And if you were to go through a process for this apartment that is like a planned unit development, where we would be on the front end of the development process, I think it would be far more acceptable. Thank you.
As we go forward on this is the sign-up sheet for both of these items, the Dark Paradise and this one. So if you want to wait and speak for that one, okay, you don't get to do it. It's the sign-up sheet for both A and B. So this one is going to go. Merrily, that's it. All right.
I live next to John, long-term wonderful neighbor. When I look at the picture, the photo, it is so deceiving. You look at that photo of that lot and it looks like prairie land of Nebraska. It is not that big. And then when you look at the diagram, it's the same thing. Boy, all these apartments and the space in the center, it is not that big. Well, if you look at it, it would be fine for a single home. They could have a front yard and a backyard, and that's about it. And what I think about is that many people packed into that space. I think of fire, I think of noise, I think of people right on by my backyard to go in my back door, and it's frightening. Like John said, I've been here over 40 years. I came up here to teach, and I loved it. And now, like they say, people see something and they like it. You next thing they know, they turn it into something that it wasn't in the beginning. And that's what's happening to Woodland Park. Sorry.
Larry Day, are you on the same subject, the same question? Yes. Okay. Just want to make sure.
My name is Larry Day, and I live at 400 Burdette Court. My house is situated right in the middle of the backyard, right there. And be honest with you, I'm very upset about it. I don't care for it. I've been here for 30 years, and we worked. I'm retired, and we raised our children here, went to school here, and we invested our money into Woodland Park. It's a beautiful place to live. But when y'all come up to the point of building apartments right in my backyard, that's just too much. It's kind of like a slap in the face. And you have these one-bedroom apartments, and you have all these rentals. You don't know what kind of people's going to move in there. You know, you don't. if you're going to put any buildings back there, why don't you just put a nice home where you can raise children? Not something one-bedroom apartments where fly-by-night people come in and go. You know, and it really hurts us to know that y'all are looking at this. And I don't have a lot to say about it, but I'm just saying that I despise it. I don't think it's going to be a good place for that apartments to be. And I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, do you want to wait till the next one? Corey Smith.
I'm Corey Smith, and I live at 405 Burdette Circle, or Court. I've been there about a little over 20 years now. Raised my family there. My kids went to school here. There's been a dramatic change in Woodland Park over that 20 years. I'm opposed to this. One reason is the traffic. We already got massive traffic problems, and we're trying to put more people into places when the traffic's not solved yet. And that's going to continue to grow and get worse and worse and worse. And us citizens that are here in Woodland Park, we pay for that. Now, this is all about Karis. This is what it's about. And I'm not against Karis, but this is what it's about. That's what you guys even said it in one of your documents here, that Karis is here. We need to provide X amount of space for them to live. And yeah, they need a place to live. I get that, but that probably should have been thought about before they got here. And it's not our responsibility to pay the consequence for Karis. And that's exactly what's going to happen. We are residents of Woodland Park. We spend our money here. We've lived here for many years. They're going to be here for a couple years and gone. But we want to build apartment complexes for them. And they're just going to come here and just be gone. Plus the drainage problem. We get a flood into our garage and had to put all kinds of money. That's coming exactly from that lot. Right into our yard, into our garage. I've had to reroute it around the backyard. Goes into our neighbor's yard, all coming up from that property. And I'm really concerned about that because I put a lot of money and time into fixing it where it is now. You take all the shrubbery and everything out, like it's going to happen. It's just going to get worse because there's nothing that's going to stop the water there. And I'm curious, looking around at some of these apartments, and we've called about how much they cost. I'm not sure what you all consider affordable housing in Woodland Park. Because to me, it has nothing to do with affordable for people. It has to do with putting a body in a space and money. And we have to deal with that. You guys also, in one of your questions, talk about what has changed in this area that we can put this here. There's been all kinds of change. The only thing that's changed in 20 years is the Tractor Supply. That's the only thing that's changed over there. She read off a bunch of others. It hasn't been changed. I've been there over 20 years. Same stuff is still there. Nothing's changed. Just the Tractor Supply. And I don't think that gives a benefit to go ahead and throw another building on there just because there's a Tractor Supply. You made a comment about, well, there could be a junkyard or something back over there commercially. That is true, it could be. But it was zoned this from the beginning, or it is now. It needs to stay that way, and I would rather have a commercial product, community commercial there than apartment complexes, because I know I'm going to have peace at night when I want to go to bed and go to sleep. And my kids, and just moving around, I don't have to deal with maybe noise at the apartment complexes, single bedrooms, single people having parties. I don't know what will happen. But I know there's going to be a nice halo of glow, ruining what I've had for over 20 years there. So I'm against this, and I think we need to come up with another option to deal and keep Woodland Park what we all moved up here for, and probably you all too, why you moved up here. We're losing that, and we've got to figure out other ways to keep Woodland Park the way it is. Thank you.
Claire Morgan, are you on the same one, or you on the other one? Okay. 4 and 9.
doing today? I live at 409 Burdette Circle. That house has been in my family for at least 30 years. I've gone to the Woodland Park High School. I've gone to school with Corey's kids. I've gone to school with your son, John. And that's what community is knowing your neighbors, going around town and knowing everybody. If that goes in there, who am I going to know? Why would I want to go over there? Statistically showing crime rates in one-bedroom apartments out of everything else is just through the roof. I'm in the business of trying to make money, but not in this way when it comes at my community's cost. And that's what I see. Where are we going to get this water? How are we going to make water? How are we going to fix these infrastructures? Children going to the Woodland Park High School, middle school, everything. What do we have for that? You're saying that there's going to be access from Spruce Haven to Highway 67. They're not going to take that road. They're going to be taking Coraline Street all the way to Lafayette and taking Frontage Road to bypass that signal light to go straight to that college. What's that going to do for traffic for everybody? How is that going to be for everybody else on those streets? Traffic. Horrible. Coming up Spruce Haven, you got that T. Every time you stop at that T, lights go directly into 4 houses. I feel bad for those people. Sorry, but that's my place. I've been here since 1996. Like I said, that home has been my family since '88. I come from California, from high density, and it's not good. Hence why we're here. And we don't bring that stuff with us. We're in the mountains for a reason. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Is that also on the other? Is that on this one here? Okay.
Tina Alvalar, and I do have an interest in 409 Burdette. My niece that's living in that house right now, and I currently am on Ponderosa. But I'm in real estate, and I know typically housing costs to buy a house is more expensive up here than it is in Colorado Springs. And that is because people want to come to the mountains to get away from the city. We don't want the high-density housing. That's not what we moved here for. Water. You say you have plenty of water to supply all these units that you're putting in. How many times have we been on water restrictions in the city? We don't have the water to support the number of people and the number of housing that you want to put in this city. I mean, California, there's cities that have had no water. They run out of water. For up to 10 years, they have to have water trucked in. Are you guys willing to have all our water, our precious resource of water given away for apartments to house people? You know, people that live in Woodland Park, there's no business up here really to work. People commute to Colorado Springs to work. They pay a higher price to live here and commute to the Springs. So what? Karis College kids, they can live in the Springs and commute up here. They have the housing, they have the apartments. What's the problem with that? I don't see an issue with them having to live in the Springs and come up here. Trail Ridge Apartments, supposedly affordable housing. $900 for a one-bedroom apartment? I do property management and I sell real estate, and it breaks my heart when I see people that have lived here for 20 years having to move down to Colorado Springs because they cannot afford to pay rent up here the way they've gone up because of what bringing this college to this community has done. You're getting rid of all the people that lived here for years that can't afford it anymore. And unfortunately, we have investors that don't even live in this area. They're out of the country, they're out of the state, and they have investment properties. They see what the housing costs. And, you know, it's hard to tell someone that has lived and rented from you for years for $800 a month that your rent's going to have to go up to $1,100 a month because that's what the going rate is. Because these people that invest here don't live here. The water is the biggest issue. We cannot continue to develop this city and put that strain on our water resources. Heck, we can't even keep up with our sewer lines. You know, how many times has the city's sewers backed up on the downtown because we don't keep up with we can't keep up with anything. You know, we've got a nonprofit who's got bringing all these people in, and they have people that move here. Well, guess what? They have kids. Oh, you say we get 7% revenue on, you know, the clothing, and we're making money on what they spend here. Well, how much are we spending to educate? What does it cost per child in our school system? And that tax burden is going on us people. How many businesses, commercial buildings do we have that are vacant in this city? Because that commercial businesses are taxed so high they can't stay in business up here. And you're putting all that burden on the people here. We all moved here to get away from the city. We don't want the high-density living. I mean, we have plenty of PUD, planned unit development areas. Columbine, when that went up, heck, that looks like Briargate. Might as well be in the city. People don't move up here to reach out and touch their neighbors. They move up here to have a little space and to enjoy the mountain living and the community that we have. And it's sad when you can't go into places anymore and sit and talk, and you've got all these young students that are so loud and obnoxious, and you can't even hear yourselves talk. Heck, they even block the doors in some of the places standing there talking. And you have to push through them to get inside the businesses. You know, that's not right. I don't like what the city is turning into and what it's going to. We bought and moved here for the small town community atmosphere, and we're losing it. The traffic alone is beyond ridiculous. We can't even keep up with the potholes in the city with all the traffic coming through. So infrastructure-wise, I don't think we need to have anything that high density. Sorry.
Thank you. Nora Hall, is it on this one or on the next one? What's up? Rebecca, you signed up again.
My name is it working? Okay. My name is Rebecca Pruitt, and I am a resident of Divide, Colorado. It's Teller County. And I do believe and support affordable housing. I am a survivor of 9/11, high-density housing. I am a survivor of Hurricane Sandy, and I got wiped out by that. I came here for many, many reasons, but one was because it was a great community. But I think someone else has named the elephant in the room. More so, it's a pig. It's Caras College. One-bedroom housing, that's for students. And I'm not saying that this planning committee is at fault, but we are a direct democracy in Colorado. The citizenship did not want Caras here, but the council overturned it. They were supposed to build their own dorms, and what are they doing? They're building the second largest parking garage in Colorado. I cannot get affordable housing because I am constantly competing for a college student who is a transient who, I'm sorry, as I understand it, Caras has bought over 40 homes and taken them off the tax rolls. So now I am subsidizing Caras College because we're educating their children, they're using the infrastructure and not paying for it, and they do not bring what they promised this community they would bring. So it's not an elephant in the room, it's a pig. It's consuming. And to approve this is doing nothing more than putting a Band-Aid on a solution where I think the planning committee needs to speak to Caras and put their foot down. Build your own housing, because that would free up a lot of affordable housing. Because if you don't, as a planning committee, people, developers are going to keep coming at us, telling us we need to provide for these students and these people. I don't. I need to provide for me. I'm rebuilding my life. So I don't want a Band-Aid, nor do I want lipstick on the pig. I really do want this town
this governing body, to say, we want Caris to step up to the plate and provide for their own, to free up the housing for people like me. I drive down to Colorado Springs to my job, but I want to live up here. And it's becoming harder and harder for the reasons that I stated. I hope that you will consider what your citizenry here that tonight has said to you. We don't want high-density housing, and we don't want to put our resources at risk. More so than just water. It's the community that has a long-standing history, and I respect that. I hope you will. Thank you.
That completes the public comment. So what we'll do, we'll close the public comment at this time. Okay? At this point, the next item would be...
Sure. The next point would be the rebuttal from the applicant.
Basically, I see a concern for height is a big concern, and I hear some people say massive apartments. Well, in reality, they're a two-story house. So if a two-story house goes next to your house, it's basically the same thing.
We all listen to you.
That's just height. It's not density.
I can't hear you. It's hard.
You guys talk about lifestyle. I understand your lifestyle and why you've moved here, but a lifestyle should be basically afforded to everyone. And if you don't have affordable housing for people to rent, if they can't buy a home, they're not going to be in part of your lifestyle. So I don't believe that's very fair to the community. And lastly, I am not a developer. I'm calling a developer, nor is the client that I represent. He's a retired contractor who wants to try to buy the land. And lastly, the project came about not based on anything with this Cheris College. I don't even know what that is. It was based on a affordable housing authority pamphlet that was coming out by Teller County and Woodland Park. Then said they needed rentable homes. And lastly, usually when you add rentable property, if there's more available units, the prices go down as well. So that's usually a supply and demand thing. But anyway, maybe that's just my opinion. That's all I have.
At this point, any final questions?
Please use the microphone, John.
Any final questions from the...
Could we have order, John?
You can't do this, sir, because you aren't signed up.
John, he needs to come here and be on the record.
If you're going to come up here, commit, tell us who you are. We will have, sure, it's your last one, because nobody else signed up.
I live here.
Name and address.
My name is Freddie Brooke. I live at 433 Burdett Circle. I live here because I love here. The people here are very compassionate. It upsets me to see, I'm not anti-religious, but I see they come in, they buy houses, from what I understand, they're not paying taxes on it. I might be wrong. Why you're not making, if you want to build an apartment here, make it a stipulation that Charis is not allowed to rent any of these apartments for the people up here for affordable living, for the people in the supermarkets, or put people who want to live up here. People were here before Charis. Put them first, please, not second. If not, I'm sorry, but you're screwing over the people of Woodland Park. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm very passionate about the people of Woodland Park. They deserve better than this. Thank you very much.
Now let's go back to our group. Does anybody here have anything else they want to ask of anybody and discuss anything that's going on here? Jerry?
Thank you.
I think this one will work. Yeah, it worked before, so. To me, we're not really trying to stop building. I'm not against building, I'm not against progress. What we're deciding is what goes on this property. And I'm not really looking at your project specifically because it's like people said. You can sell this, you can get this approved and sell it tomorrow, and somebody else can come in with another project. What I look for when rezoning a rezoning request, I look for 3 specific questions to be answered. One is the developer or owner needs to clearly tell me why we are being asked to rezone an area. Because smart people put that zone together. Our zoning map was not done in a vacuum. So why do you want us to rezone this property? The second is, what specific benefits to the current residents of Woodland Park will this rezoning provide? And the third one, why the development can't take place in an appropriate current designated zone area without the need to change our zoning map. Those 3 questions haven't really been answered to me so far.
Anybody else?
The thing that's concerning to me is we are compromising our own code book. We're going to accept 8 feet on this one side, 2 feet on, and where does it end? If we're constantly compromising what our code book states in there for every single project that comes out, or even 50% of the projects coming out, where does it stop? Soon it will be design change. Oh, you don't really have to have that green, we'll accept pink. And you have guidelines for a reason. You spelled out the reasons, and I understand that this is not set in stone, but with what was drawn up, the intentions have already been stated. And that's all I've got to say.
I have a couple of comments. In reviewing the packet that was sent to us, I looked at 2 main things. I'm very concerned about water, as many of you are, and I very much am aware of it. This commission is also concerned about water, and I was very concerned about the neighbors. And I think the neighbors are still my number 1 concern about development of this property as proposed. And those are the things that I'm going to weigh carefully when I decide on how I'm going to vote on this.
In looking at this, it seemed to me that residential use of some sort, including multifamily, is an appropriate transitional buffer between the area in front, Fred's Towing, and the residential area. I'm troubled by the density that's provided there and our inability through this process to be able to control that, density or to otherwise condition it. I note that in the table of uses in our zoning ordinance, community commercial does allow multi-unit dwellings on a conditional basis. If it was done in that manner, it's an opportunity for the city to look at it and to have a process of a give and take, valuing the community input, what are setback requirements, other kinds of things to look at. And also, I take very much our Jerry's comments too, is what's the reason and the need articulated for this, as opposed to, here's a particular plan, it's a non-binding plan, please change the zoning. And with that, I'm not comfortable that the rationale is sufficient for me to support the change.
Also, the letter from Kip Wiley, the utilities director, has mentioned that He thought the sewer service may be challenging as this lot slopes towards the north and there's not a sewer main to tie into on the north side of the property. So that could be a concern as well for the future.
John, quick comment. I'll be quick. I appreciated all the comments, but I think with the zoning change, whether it's a legal burden or not, the applicant does have a burden to demonstrate much more strongly than this applicant has why this change is necessary and how it will not interfere with the expectation of the neighbors. And I just don't think that they have done a very good job. They may not have been legally required to do this, but I think they should have anticipated the feedback. They could have easily organized neighborhood sessions in advance of doing this, and could have maybe still have had the objections, but have looked at this in a very different way than just approaching us as I think they have, with almost a presumption that this would be a really good idea. I think Karas and all that are, my personal opinion, are throwaway issues. I think the big issue is that they have not met a high enough burden for us to consider the zoning change. And if we were to approve this, we open ourselves up to a succession of like changes, because it basically says we're open for business on high density housing.
Let me summarize a couple things. You hear me? I have concerns about setbacks. I don't think anybody should be building within 8 feet of another building, because I think it's almost too much property on 1.67 acres, personally. Okay, that doesn't mean they don't have a right to change that and come back, because we all have property rights. You have property rights. The owner has property rights. Karis's master plan, so you all know, is for over 100,000 square feet of dorms out there. And I've talked to the people at Karis. That's next on their agenda. The parking lot's going to be done. So, I mean, that has always been part of the original plan. Okay? It is in an area of the Karis Bible College that is taxable. It's not in a non-tax area. So anything they build out there and the concern to add on to that will be taxed at a normal rate. I know nothing about 40 pieces of property in Woodland Park that they bought, nor do these people. Okay, and I think that's kind of a rumor. But I feel about the same way as these folks here do. I don't think it's been proven that this thing is a worthwhile thing because of its size on a small piece of property. Lee has pointed out, under community commercial, there are other avenues that they can come back at. Come back to Sally and the group there, put their thinking caps on them, and come back to something that perhaps everybody here will agree with. Okay? And that's the way I think. I'm not going to dump on Karis for this thing. And I'm through. So at this point, we'd encourage a motion.
I'd like to jump in. Is it slow pitch softball or fast pitch? Do you have children still in the school system? Oh, okay. High school? Oh, okay. Wow. How many children do you have? And how old are they? Oh. Oh, University of Wyoming. Oh. Is that in, where is that? Okay, Laramie. Oh, interesting. How did she end up there?
think if you looked at the pictures that you saw with the paving, the yellow you saw was erosion control blankets on the side slopes. It's very well protected. As far as the system and overtaxing the system, we did the analysis. We looked at the whole basin, all the area. This is 20 acres, give or take, and the total area is 240 acres that drains into this detention pond on Majestic Parkway. Our analysis indicated that the storm sewer system and the inlets all meet the new criteria. They were designed under criteria in effect in 2005, but we checked them against the criteria that came into effect a few years ago in 11 or 14, I can't remember.
14.
14. They're fine. All the technical terms are met and standards are met. The detention pond we determined was slightly undersized, and we had provided a solution, but through conversation with the neighborhood or with others, we now are working on, and that was one of the conditions, is to expand the surface area of the pond. And what that means is that we had come up with the solution that deepened the pond 2 feet. And that's been determined that, can we find some other solution, technical solution? And yes, we can. We will expand the sides of the pond while not going below the outlet of the pond structure. And we are very close to finalizing that. And that was it, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Well, Mark McNabb, and I don't have a lot to say because I think Sally and Mike have said pretty well everything. We did try to, in eliminating 3 lots, we took areas that had steep slopes and then use those 3 lots to eliminate those potential problems. And also, at the same time, it made lots larger around there to make a nicer, spacious space. So we tried to meet all the requirements that have been sent our way for this project, and we're hoping that we can move forward and build some really nice homes up there that'll blend into the community and be the same as those around it. If you have any questions?
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you. Any questions of staff? Okay. At this point, we'll open up public comment. The first one on the list is William Brown.
I have 2 major things to discuss, and I will go over the 5 minutes.
By a little?
By a little?
Okay.
I
Good.
hope so.
Okay, me too. Okay.
Thank you. The original master plan and preliminary plat talked about this area where there are 3 lots now. There were 2 lots. Okay? Lot 4 was bigger, and Lot 3 was part of 4, and 1 and 2 were big. And the reason that they were big is because of the retaining wall. And the retaining wall, because I built the retaining wall, and no one through this whole process has asked me how it was built or what we went through or whatever we did. No one from the staff, no one from the applicant, no one from the engineer, no one. And I'm the architect who designed the retaining walls and built them, okay? The retaining walls, including, because they have the concrete blocks that you see, and then there's a foot behind the concrete blocks that are filled with crushed concrete, and then there are 10 to 20 feet of plastic that goes out every 2 feet. The whole hit, the whole thing of the retaining wall. It's all engineered. And so this plat will not work because the retaining walls are, to maintain the integrity of them, are 60 feet from the property line all the way back, in some cases 75 feet. And that 75 feet splits these lots in half. Okay? And no one has asked me about any of this. And so I would ask that you exclude this from your approval tonight, because this is inadequate, and it will, and if it were developed this way, it would create a failure in doing this development. Lots 4 and 5 are made smaller, and lot 3 was part of 4, and lots 1 and 2 were made big. And one of the things that Sally has overlooked is the fact that there are 19.27 acres in this entire filing, okay? 19.27 acres and 22 lots, which makes not that the lots are larger. Total acreage is greater. You can't have 22 lots on 19 acres. You've got to have 1 lot per acre. That's been the rules since the get-go on this whole thing. And to just arbitrarily cancel it, who makes that decision? Who makes that decision to arbitrarily cancel it? Excuse me. Have to do a variance or something to create, with 19 acres, 22 lots, and that's not part of what's been submitted, okay? And every time in the past it's been done, it's been a variance, it's gone through. Yes, it has, Sally. I was there every time.
Well, continue with your presentation.
The 10 feet on the other side of the retaining walls should be a minimum of 20 feet past where the plastic undergirding goes. And so that will reduce the scope of the building by half, at least as a minimum of half. And so that preliminary or final plat is totally bogus. Now, skipping to the detention pond. In 1975, I first used the detention pond. It was built in 1938 by the CCC as part of their flood control for the valley. In 1984, in 1996, and 2002, we did upgrades to the detention pond. The detention pond was designed for my 190 acres total. And with the new criteria that Sally orchestrated, by the way, we were not informed of it. It was passed by the city council and not any property owner was notified of it. Total dereliction of duty. The detention facility was to service all the property that I own and the property the bank owns. And the detention pond is too small. So the city made the decision in conjunction with the bank to enlarge the pond, okay? That's what her report says, and that's what she just testified. To enlarge the bank, to enlarge the pond. But the pond exists for my property too, and no one contacted me about that. No one at all. And I have to construct a new detention pond completely on my property, and I can't use the existing detention pond, and I can't be part of the expansion because there's no room. So what's the solution? The solution is part of Park State Bank's property has to be used for a detention facility, and part of my property has to be used as a detention facility to be fair. Otherwise, you exclude all of my property, almost 100 acres, 88 acres, and you exclude all that, and you bend over backwards for Park State's development, and you expand the detention facility that I built. And I have a history since 1975 of building it. And you expand that and you tell me, stuff it. You know, you just build your own pond. You solve your own problem. And it was never designed that way. It was designed for both properties. And then the criteria that Sally put through 2 years ago made it too small. So it would require on-site detention for the Park State property and for my on-site detention. I understand that. I'm willing to do that. But I'm not willing to give up almost 40 years of building this detention facility and turn it over to Park State Bank and the developer, and basically telling me to stuff it. And that's not right. It's not fair. It's not, and no one talked to me about that. And no one talked to me about the consequence about it. And so, I have a huge problem with this development, with the 3 lots I've shared with, and the detention facility that I built, I paid for, before Park State was ever involved with me. It was already built, already done. Okay? And so what happens? Park State takes the detention pond, expands it, and solves all their drainage problems. And they tell me, stick it. You build your new pond for your property. That's not fair. It's not correct. It's not what this city is based upon. Fairness and equal responsibility. And it's not been done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. The next,
I'm happy to answer any question.
be in that time later on when we come back for questions. Claire Morgan?
My name is Claire Morgan, and I live on the corner of Fox Mountain and Thunder Ridge. My problem is, first off, I see on a daily basis...
Hold that microphone down a little bit so we can hear you. There you go.
I see on a daily basis the houses on the west side of Thunder Ridge not being able to get delivery trucks, even a small box truck, up their driveways. They're doing work now. People, they park in the street because the delivery trucks can't get up the driveways. This is, if you walk the area where this is developed, I just want to know that they're not going to be stuck with the driveways like the people on Thunder Ridge. And when are they going to fix the access for the people on Thunder Ridge to get to their houses? I mean, it's a shame. They spend $1 million on a house and they can't get a driveway in. And if you walk along Regal Way, there's 3 retaining walls, okay? So if you go back to the top of that one, top of the third one, you're way back. How deep are these lots? If you've got the 25-foot setback on the back, 25 from the front, well, there'll obviously be more than 25 on the front because the retaining walls are there. Okay? So you're going to have a long, skinny house? And how are those lots going to be accessed? How are their driveways going to be accessed? Because you walk it, it's steep. Okay? And, what are you going to do? I mean, topography is topography. What are you going to do? Truck away the mountain? I tried that with 260 Thunder Ridge. It doesn't look like it's going to solve the problem either. And the other thing is you're building right near a forest. What are the covenants as far as roof design is concerned? If you were at the meeting in September about the Paradise, the Highlands, there was a presentation where they showed the fire guy that's working with the Colorado Springs Fire Department to mitigate damage because of the Waldo Canyon fire. He showed aerial shots where you had clustered developments because of everything being so close. The fire spread house to house. You're going to be packing right up to the house, are they going to have appropriate fireproofing on the roof? Like we have concrete. And most of the houses in our neighborhood are concrete. In fact, that's what the covenants say. Because fire is a big danger. Last April, there was a fire started at the corner of Thunder Ridge and Regal. And it was Bart Johnson and some other gentleman, I think it was Todd or something. They were putting the fire out with dirt until the fire company arrived. You know, and it was so close to spreading into the forest. Just, you know. I'm not against the building. I just want to be able to know that it's going to be safe for fire and people are going to be able to access their house and not have to park on the street. I mean, the house across the street, there's snowbirds. Okay, that's good for me. But in the wintertime, they had a problem, and so they had a contractor come. He tried to get up the driveway. The truck couldn't make it up. It slid down to their driveway, across the street, and stopped just short of my garage. Okay? If these driveways are going to be steep, what's going to happen? That's it.
Thank you. Murrah Hall?
Thanks for letting me speak a minute. I'm Mara Hall at 1000 Regal Way. I have no serious objections. I think they've done a beautiful job of putting in Lockland Way.
Mara, pull your microphone down.
I think they've done a beautiful job of putting in Lockland Way. I'm hoping that all that erosion is going to be under control. It looks like they've worked hard on it. My only question is, the people that live along Regal, the people that live on Thunder Ridge, the people that will live on Spacious Skies that will be building homes, are all under very strict covenants. We have to have tile roofs, and we have to have unique designs. So because we don't get any access to, right across the street from us, we don't get any access to what the plan is for is it a custom home? Is it all going to be like the one that was just built on Lockland Way, a similar style of home? You know, we spent a lot of money on architecture, we spent a lot of money on our tile roof and steel beams and different kind of roof styles, and we just feel, I'm concerned, and other people in my block and in that particular area are concerned about having no access to what's right across the street from us in terms of the same standard. And you know, Chuck Mahoney has been really wonderful coming by and helping us and knowing what we're supposed to be doing, and we have a design committee. My husband happens to be on it. He's ill right now, but so he gets to be a part of looking at the new homes that are being designed. So my question really is for the developer. You know, can the people right across the street get to know what you're going to do? That's my question.
Thank you. That completes the public comment. We'll close the public comment at this point. In rebuttal from the applicant, there's been some questions about drainage, some things that I think that would apply to you on that, that Mr. Brown had talked about. Could you address that?
I think the drainage is complicated by the change in the criteria. The basin is 240 acres, of which Mr. Brown's property is within that basin. I think what we determined is the pond would be undersized with development. It was okay for no development with the new criteria. The choice existed to, you need to solve detention with volume. And the choice is either put it on your property or put it in the detention pond by enlarging the detention pond. One of the challenges with this detention pond is in almost all cases within when I engineer a site, I am limited to releasing no more than what used to come down before development. It's called historic flow. This pond releases at about 1/3 of historic flow. This pond, Mr. Brown's property drains into this pond as well. When it comes time for him to do his development, the choice is there to expand the existing pond to create the additional volume or place a pond on his property. My recommendation would be to place a smaller pond on his property that then still drains into this pond, and it just works. We're starting to get to the limit of the size of the pond that is physical within the boundaries of the subdivision. With that said, this pond has small stone retaining wall on the south end of it. That option exists on the east, north, and west side that would meet the volume requirements if Mr. Brown's property developed and that's what he wished to do. I think that answered your question.
Thank you. Public comments closed. Okay, thanks.
No,
Yeah, it is.
he didn't tell the truth.
Don't do this to me.
No.
Don't do this.
No,
Sit down.
no, I won't.
Call somebody.
Why do you think I didn't tell the truth?
Call somebody.
I'm willing to.
It's really simple. We're talking about two separate pieces of property. He's talking about the bank-owned piece of property, and that's correct. And I have a piece of property. And the detention pond can't handle the volume from the bank property or my property, period. It can't handle both.
Agreed, without expansion. It
Right.
can't handle both. This development is doing its expansion.
Correct.
The next property owner in the basin will have their choice of how they wish to handle their development.
Well,
With that said,
we're going to stop this.
the real
He's
issue
not
here,
telling the truth.
Okay.
He's not telling the truth.
We've got enough information to make a decision. Okay, Mr. McNabb, what about that that undergirding or whatever he called that, on the underneath those retention walls? Is there still give enough room to
Yes.
build the property on it?
Yes, there's a vertical lateral engineering formula that says that the height of the retainer wall, the home has to be set back at least that far as the height of the retainer wall. And the other thing you have to address is the structural mat that comes from the wall into the soil, which I have looked, I have a set of plans for it, and we're fine. Okay. That. We're not even going to get anywhere close to it. We're going to
Okay.
at least 20, 25 feet away from the wall.
Thanks.
And we still have plenty to do.
Those are the questions I had. How about you folks?
What about Ms. Hall's comments relative to, I'll call them neighborhood covenants or something like that, relative to what you're developing versus what they have?
We have a client right now looking at either lot 1 or 2 that wants to build a $1.5 million home. That's bigger than anything else in the country. It's going to be a very expensive, nice, beautiful home. We're not going cheap with anything.
I wasn't implying that.
The other thing is, my background is 45 years in construction, and I've built commercial, residential, but also have focused along with that in the roofing industry. And I don't care for cement tile. If you go look at the calculations of wind shear, it's less than some of the high-end architectural fiberglass shingles today. And then the shingles, if you get the right ones, give you an insurance discount. They're so well fire rated. And that's what we're going to be using.
I think it's more about sharing of information.
Yes, and we can do that, sure.
Okay.
Each home up there will be individually designed for the client and be very similar. We built the center home on Regal Way, we designed that, the one here in the center. So that gives you a little idea of the quality that we do.
Thank you.
Mara, does that sort of answer your question?
Come on up. Might as well get it on record, Mr. Mahoney. That way you can answer her question.
I'm Chuck Mahoney, I live at 674 Lucky Lady Drive, Woodland Park. I work with the bank, I wear a couple of different hats. One of them, I'm on the Metro District Architectural Control Committee that reviews the structures that are planned for the property filing 2 that the bank owns, and we use the covenants that were imposed by the original developer, square footage, materials, things like that. Actually, Mr. McNabb took those same covenants, and there's only about 3 changes that I know of that are different than that model. One of them was he already used the example of architectural grade composition shingles with exceptional fire rating would be one. They could use concrete tile roof, but they have the choice to do that. The second would be, instead of a metal clad wood window, they have the option to pick a high-end vinyl window, and building code requires the same air infiltration, UV rays, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a function of what kind of frame. And the third variation, they're a couple hundred square feet smaller. What's required in filing 2 is 2,750 square feet finished. Mark, what was your response? It's the same. So there's really only 2 variations. It's 3-car garage. It's just the same like that. And 20% of the outside has to be either stone, natural, or cultured type of thing. So there needs to be those elements of design are in the structures that are planned for the filing. So there's really only 2 variations from the covenants from filing 2 down below to filing 4.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions? Jerry?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I've got a question concerning the water. Like, how is it getting from this subdivision over to the detention pond? Is it going to go underneath the ground?
I'll let Mr.
So
Ryan.
how is the access going to be? Are we going to have bars on it so kids don't get swept away or the animals clog it up? I mean,
I'll let Mr. Bramlett speak to that. There are 4 inlets that collect the water on Laughlin Way. One of those inlets is up about at the 2/3 point on the right side. Its primary function is to collect flows from the national forest. It has bars. It's been there since 2005. Then there is a street inlet right there. Oh, I didn't. Street inlet right there. That flow, along with the flow above, is piped down to the south. Let's see if I can get one. That flow up in here is piped in a 30-inch pipe down to the traffic circle and then into the pond. The water that reaches Laughlin Way here is collected in 2 inlets right about here, and it is piped down Spacious Skies to the traffic circle where they all combine, along with pipes to Mr. Brown's property. They all combine and go into the pond.
There are 2 more inlets right at the boundary line between Top of Paradise New and Top of Paradise Filing 7, which was the development before this. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. Gary?
Yeah, I'm still hung up on the pond. This is a fantastic area to develop it for Woodland Park. I don't want to see anything hold it up. It's a great site. When the pond was built, let me go back and review this a little bit. When the pond was built, it was built for the whole site. Is that correct? It was to handle the whole site.
When the pond was built, it was built under that criteria to handle the whole site.
And then the new criteria came along and made the pond too small. Basically, the pond was too small.
Slightly too small.
So
15% in total.
So then the property was in effect divided, 2 separate properties with a shared pond. So now what we want to do is, instead of having a shared pond, we're going to separate that pond, which is a shared common pond, into just the Park State Pond. Is that what we're doing?
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
There's 120 cubic feet coming into that pond per second.
Okay.
In the major storm. Mr. Brown's property contributes 25 cubic feet of that into the design. So we're already have that coming. Mr. Brown's pond, when he puts his pond in, will go into the Majestic Pond. That's where it will discharge to. And all...
Is that a different pond, or is this the same pond?
He can either...
No, you said Majestic Pond. Is that the pond we're talking about, or is that a different pond?
That's the pond we're talking about.
Okay.
Mr. Brown's pond, if he chose to build a pond, would drain into the Majestic Pond. Mr. Brown's pond would only have to be large enough to accommodate the difference in volume as if he were to just drain like we always plan under the new criteria.
So if you weren't developing this site today, and Mr. Brown developed his site before you did, what would have to be done about the pond then?
That's a great question. If Mr. Brown developed his site first, his choice would either be expand the pond, like this applicant is doing, or put a pond on his property. Because the pond is not large enough because of the new criteria. Now,
So-
when I say not large enough, this is not...
So since the pond was originally shared, as an engineer, I'm an engineer also.
And it is still shared.
Since it's originally shared and it's still shared, it seems to me like that whoever develops their property first should consider it also a shared pond and share the expense of taking care of the whole area. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
How are you taking care of the other site?
There'll be 2 extensions on that pond. Bill Brown chooses to do that, we choose to do that. We will expand it based on what we need. He can come in and just expand it some more, so we're sharing the thing.
Is it going to be a lot more expensive the second time than it is the first time when you do your expansion? Is that going to be proportionally more expensive for the first? I would think it would be cheaper for the first expansion than the second expansion. As an engineer, that's the way I would think it would be.
I think we are at the limit, or close to the limit, of dirt moving.
Okay.
Point stone walls, not the walls that we saw up at Regal Way, but these are just boulders that allow you to change the slope to a more steeper slope, which would increase the volume. I think that would be more expensive. And that's why I would recommend that it would be with dirt, he can solve his problem on his development.
Since we're speaking hypotheticals, may I? You're the one doing the development now. And it may or may not ever be another development on Mr. Brown's property. I mean,
It's unplatted.
what we're focused on is what your request is about.
Yeah, that's not a technical question, but
No, it's
logical.
my opinion.
I agree, but at the same time, we started out with a shared piece of that property, and then we separated it. Now we need to make a decision that makes sense with the separation and the shared piece originally. They aren't separate, they're connected to me.
Did Mr. Brown lose something? Was there extra capacity here available that he had put in that he's somehow being
It's all
consumed
math.
by this development?
There was no extra capacity, it was all math. And realistically, the change in the criteria did not affect any of the land, well, it didn't affect the land within Top of Paradise. What it really changed was the calculation of flows off of the national forest. So the pond became undersized because of the national forest. It did not, that's the real driver of this. The pond was sized adequately at the time we did it. The pond is no longer sized adequately, and now it's sized adequately for the development in front of the commission.
You're going to have to expand it.
You're going to have, if Mr. Brown, oh yeah.
So
With my design, it's sized adequately. Yep. Little bit of change in how you calculated stuff, but really it's national forest. That's at the end of the day. And the criteria increased the amount of rain in a 100-year storm by 20%. And guess what? The pond is probably undersized by 20% in total. Haven't done the analysis at that level, but that's what what we would say today. Okay.
Any other questions on any other topics?
Just a couple quick things for staff, I think. Referencing 1740, 170 on easements. This is a text from the statute where the rear lot line abuts on property outside of the subdivision in which there are no easements provided for at least 10% width. The easement or alley in the rear lot line from the subdivision shall be at least 20 feet in width. That would seem to apply both to the northwest side of unplatted land and especially difficult way on the east side of National Forest. Best I can read, there's 10-foot utility easements there. Since the National Forest doesn't have 10 feet on its side, never will, should those be 20 feet and apply to the ordinance?
You need to read the very first portion of that section, which says where required.
Okay, so that's the reason I asked, because it seems that where an easement's required, it should be 20 feet.
No.
No, it's only, only as much easement as you need?
Only as much easement as you need. We do not want to encumber property unnecessarily, and because the infrastructure has all been designed, the easements fit what is built.
You put that in our list of edited in the second.
Right.
Second one, on 1740.250, there was a staff analysis, a staff recommendation that we had a plat note reflecting the lot coverage standard.
Yes.
Did I miss it? I didn't notice in the recommendations to go in at the end. I think it should maybe be added.
I'm sorry, it's already on there. It's already on the plat. I should have removed.
In there somewhere, I missed it. Then.
It did, yes. It is plat note number 7.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I entertain a motion. Or a second? We got a motion first.
You want to go? I'll make a motion that we recommend the approval of this, I'll have to read it to get it all right.
Item B.
The final plat for Paradise, Colorado number 4, subject to, do you want me to read each of the conditions, or can I say subject to the 6 conditions?
Subject to the
Scratching the 7th
Yes.
that are outlined on the staff report.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Call the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Beginning with Lee Brown.
Yes.
Ellen Clark.
Yes.
Vicky Good. Yes. Ken Hartford.
Yes.
Gary Finley.
Yes.
Peter Scanlon.
Yes.
Charles Schrader.
Yes.
Ron DeVoe.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming. A little different than the other one we had. But it's a awful nice plan. But thanks, everybody, for coming. We've got a couple items yet to, any reports? Does anybody on the commission have a report? I think you do,
I
Sally.
would like to make a comment. I think we should look into replacing this microphone system. This is embarrassing. Even if we go back to the old system, this is, I really can't stand it. I really can't. And that's my comment.
Thank you.
It's either that or figure out why that thing does that and get it fixed.
Yeah,
One of the two.
I'd like to make a comment. It was really nice to see in the Courier, John bringing up to the city council all of the things we brought up in the comprehensive plan for city council's look at, as our, what we think is important, because we usually don't see that. That was nice to see that. Thanks.
I have to tell you, I went to that meeting. Sally said, "Come on up, I want you to be here too." And then when I get there, she says, "You have to present it." Oh, they're not really prepared for this, but it went fine. It went fine.
Yeah, the paper came out great.
That was great. Oh, boy.
Our meeting's not over. Excuse us. We'll be
Second,
done
let us
in
finish
just
up
a
first.
moment.
We're almost done.
Sorry, Claire.
Sally?
What was just handed out to you is a memo that is regarding planned unit developments, that if there is a proposal to modify their plan, then the staff looks at it to see if it is a requires a public hearing before the Planning Commission, and it's a significant change, or if it can be completed administratively. So I have 3 this evening to share with you that we consider administrative changes. So the first one is dealing with Gold Hill Square South and building number 6. The owner has contacted us to utilize the former Woodland Hardware retail space for a place of worship. So a church would like to remodel and move into that space, and staff believes that this will have no effect on the PUD character or any substantial impacts. So it
Is there
is...
adequate parking?
There is, and especially on a Sunday.
That's right.
No, ma'am, because they won't own the property. They are leasing the property. It is still private property.
Won't change it.
So that is the first one, and you can read through each of these. The next item is for Walmart. And Laura, if you can hand out these for me. It's okay. Walmart Center is wanting to add an online grocery pickup service area. So on the back of this memo, it shows a little exhibit that they are going to add a very small parking area to the east side of the store and provide for online pickup services. They will relocate the landscaping and the decorative light poles and keep the same lighting fixture. We will also require them to analyze the drainage system since additional impervious surface is being added, and we do have new drainage criteria. So they will provide a drainage analysis and then submit a separate sign permit for that. So that is the second minor change to a PUD that we believe it can be handled administratively.
A couple comments on that. When we went through the Walmart approval process initially, there was some amount of time spent on screening activities in the rear of the building. Is this just an empty parking lot, or are we going to shield that from the highway?
No, this is actually in an area that is not screened currently. So,
They're
yeah.
going to build a wall.
It is north of the wall that is already screening the back, so it will not affect the existing screening. And it will be landscaped. It will be landscaped.
So that would be my concern.
Yeah.
Screening the appearance from the highway, and what are we creating? The current parking lot now is below grade, and the retaining wall creates an effective screening of the parking area. And by bringing parking to the side of the building, I would be concerned about the visual impact it has from the highway.
It's only got about, 8 or 10 spots?
Yeah.
It's not very many. Pick up and go.
We'll look at the land. That's a great comment, Mr. Hartsfield. We'll look at that carefully and make sure we have adequate landscaping there.
The original landscaping on the Walmart, original plan, is always on the front.
Okay, one more.
Not these things that Walmart put in everybody. There were 6-foot high trees and all that. All the trees were having them show. Use that same criteria, I'm sure, to make sure that.
Well, it's just my concern,
Yeah.
screening, appearance of the especially from the highway.
Yep.
Put another L on.
Good comment. The last one is with the Sturman Industries Research and Development Facility. This Andrew Womack Ministries does have a lease purchase agreement, 18 months. And about 6 months ago, they submitted a remodel of the existing 33,000 square foot facility. Sturman's had used it for office space, light manufacturing, research and development. The Andrew Womack Ministries is using it for their headquarters, administration, recording studio, print shop, warehouse, and distribution area. Considered these uses similar to the Sturman's use and could handle this administratively. Also, during the remodel process, there was a request to construct a temporary parking lot. They will, if they close on the property, then this parking lot will become permanent and require drainage improvements. So with that, Andrew Womack Ministries contractor did obtain the necessary zoning development permits and building permits to complete the remodel.
This area is part of the tax-free area.
It's taxable as long as it's under a lease purchase agreement, and it's still it's not owned by Womack Industries. That will be at least probably 2 years before that changes. When they do it, it's on a lease purchase agreement. So at this point in time, they're still paying taxes.
Is Strammond going away?
They are planning to retire.
Okay, just curious, obviously.
So, thank you. Yes.
But the housing they're gonna put out there, we had talked about that, there's almost like 128,000 square foot of dorms, and it's all subject to property tax.
I think in our discussions, we should be careful when we use the phrase affordable housing, first of all. I saw a comment that I would have liked to have scratched before this discussion began. I think that's a touchy thing, and I don't think the first presentation tonight really addressed affordable housing, and I was concerned about that. Just my comment. And I think we should also be very sensitive to comments regarding Caris. I'm not sure that's all. I understand the situation, but I don't think it always should be documented in some of these things. This is my input and my observation only.
Charlie, I agree with you, but you can't stop these people.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, the audience is, that's their game. But I don't think we should lead them to making some of those very strong comments that are not always well received. Well, but still.
One of the things that, there were so many innuendos from this audience that we had when people spoke, that they were just, sometimes to the point of they just were.
John, we're still recording.
That's fine. But what I'm saying is that you just you have to go on when that happens. You know, one bedroom apartment can be for a widow or a widower. It can be for a teacher at the school system. They just need that kind of stuff. It isn't just a bunch of people playing loud music and drinking. That's not the purpose.
Mr. Chairman, that case is still active and it's scheduled to go in front of the city council. So we should really not have any discussion right now.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank
I
you.
second that motion.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Bye.